Hurts at 15 and Josh Allen at 12. So, Keyshaw, any problems with this ranking?
I mean, it's not necessarily a problem, but I would put Dak Prescott in front of everybody that he's behind.
In front of Josh, too?
Yeah, because I like Dak Prescott more so than I do Josh Allen. One is Dak Prescott kind of gets pushed down because he hadn't advanced the Cowboys and he plays for the Cowboys, so they push him down. He's second last year in MVP voting for whatever that is worth. But when you look at it, Josh Allen, wasn't his fault that he lost to Patrick Mahomes, but he lost. He's gone further in the playoffs, even though I think their playoff records is pretty similar. He's gone further than Dak Prescott, but he plays for the Bills versus the Cowboys. So Dak Prescott's going to always be under the microscope to an degree because it's the star on the side of the helmet. He can do the same things that he's doing for the Cowboys for some other team, and he'd be the greatest quarterback to ever play.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, 1,000%. But because it's the Cowboys, they had Roger Staubach, and they had Troy Aikman. It's just hard to get over that for media and Cowboy fans when he's coming up short on a consistent basis in the playoffs. Josh Allen coming up just as short. But it's the Buffalo Bills that hadn't won a Super Bowl, gone to 4 with Jim Kelly, but hadn't won. So there's no Super Bowl measuring stick, so to speak, where it is with the Dallas Cowboys. And because of the attention that is put and placed on Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys on a constant, everyday basis, we're talking about empty stands for crying out loud yesterday. That's where it's gotten to with the Dallas Cowboys. We're looking at the stands at practice.
At practice?
Yeah, it was pretty empty.
It's usually packed?
Yeah, usually packed, but it's been empty here the last several days and whatnot.
Man.
But that's a conversation.
Yeah.
And because of that, Dak Prescott is put in a position where he can't win unless he wins. He just can't. But if you drop him with his same 12-4 record, his same second in MVP voting on Seattle, I'm just using that as an example. Man, dudes would have gave him $800 million by now. But it's the Dallas Cowboys. And so we look at it differently. He's judged on that.
So if you put him ahead of Josh Allen, and I don't know who the 10 are, but I assume Patty Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are ahead.
Yeah, they're in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah, so that would put Dak Prescott as number 3.
No, 5.
He would be.
He would have him 3.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Would I have him 3?
That would put him 3.
Yes.
Third best quarterback in the league. That's what I'm saying.
That is correct.
I'm Skip fun. He would have him 3.
That's what I'm saying. If you got him ahead of Josh Allen, who's 12, and you figure Mahomes and Jackson is in that top 10, Josh is probably 3.
Yeah, I probably would have him at 3.
Dak Prescott, top 3.
4, somewhere in there. You can't argue. You'll never be able to. You'll never be able to argue with me about his success in the regular season.
Yeah.
You can't. No. You could argue with me about the postseason hiccups against San Francisco and what happened last year as a collective group team effort against Green Bay.
Yeah.
But you can't argue with me about his regular season success. Or if I'm going to say it wasn't Josh Allen's fault against Kansas City, it wasn't Dak Prescott's fault 4 years ago, 5 years ago? When was that, Skip, that they lost to Green Bay? 5 years ago?
Oh, to his rookie year?
Yeah.
When they, Oh, well, that's 8 years ago.
Yeah, 8 years ago.
26.
His rookie season, they on the road. They getting ready to get there.
But no, they were at home. They had.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying they was getting ready to advance deep into the playoffs.
Yes, they had the 1 seed.
And then Aaron Rodgers came with the Houdini Aaron Rodgers. Bam.
Yeah, I remember.
It wasn't on Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
But he gets that check mark on his record. Just like that loss to Kansas City wasn't on Josh Allen, but he gets that check mark on his loss record.
No, I like the list for the most. I don't have Dak over Josh. Him and Jalen Hurts, any given year, Jalen's been in MVP talks.
Yeah.
Also, could have won it a couple years ago. But Josh Allen just put up, I just think his intangibles are better. You know, when we just talk about better arm, versatility as a quarterback. And he's given me that game I will never forget. That Kansas City game,
He was an
that's one of the great.
Like all-time greatest.
It was one of the greatest games I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And the way, and I haven't seen Dak take his game to that level.
That Dak Prescott has had moments, but that
Not
Kansas
like-
City
yeah.
AFC Championship game
Yes.
was a different game.
Yeah, that puts me over the top with having Josh right there in front of him because I need to see, like, it's just certain games. Even though in a loss, you saw his ability.
I
And you
understand.
saw what he was capable of, and we haven't seen Dak do something like that in his career in the playoffs to where he gave his team an actual chance. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I can't go, even though it's me saying this, I can't go against the players. The players are saying this is where he's at. They don't fear him the way that they may have feared Jalen Hurts or some of the guys that's in front of him, based on the ranking, based on what they said. And these are the players that see him and played against him and go at him. So they got him at 16 right now. What can I say?
But you can say him and Jalen kind of, it can go either way since they right there with each other.
Jalen been to the Super Bowl. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Josh Allen has not. That's where people lose me at, Skip.
Yeah.
All right. Where I get lost in this is there is no way I'm taking Dak over Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen.
Okay.
I'll take both of those on any Sunday, Monday, or Thursday over Dak Prescott.
Or Saturday.
Or Saturday.
Christmas.
Or Christmas Day. Jalen Hurts did lift that team to the Super Bowl, and I thought he had an MVP caliber year. Remember, he got hurt at the end, or he would have won.
Oh, he would have won
missed a game or
MVP
two.
if he,
He lifted him into a Super Bowl in which he threw for 304 yards, and he ran for 3 touchdowns in that game and threw for another one. So just in total yards that he created, he was 374 to Mahomes' 226. That's arm and legs yards. And the final score was 38-35, Kansas City. And the game turned on one mistake that Jalen made. He just lost the handle. I don't know. He just wasn't locked in at that moment. And not only did he lose the handle, but it got scooped and it got scored.
Yeah.
And it's hard to overcome that in a shootout. So I give Jalen high marks for that Super Bowl. And then it brings me back to Josh Allen. And I know he has been the ultimate turnover machine in regular seasons, But think about this. While Dak is 2-5 in the postseason, Josh Allen is 5-5 in the postseason. And think about the 5 losses. He's lost 3 times to Mahomes and once to Joe Burrow. And the other game he lost was when Deshaun was Deshaun for the Texans back in 2019 and Josh was still just a baby. He lost at Texans 22-19. That's when Deshaun is flying highest. It's pre all the issues, and there was no shame in that loss at Houston. So those are his 5 losses. So I'm looking at how he played against Mahomes. In those 3 games against Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen threw 7 touchdowns to only 1 interception and lost no fumbles. In all 3 of those games, including that classic shootout, 42-36 in overtime in the AFC Championship game. And Josh did get his team to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at how many yards he ran for in those games. These are the 3 Mahomes games that Josh is on the ground. 7 for 88, 11 for 68, 12 for 72. These are big yardage games where he can move. And sometimes he tries to run over linebackers, and sometimes it gets crazy, and he gets high risk, kind of low reward. But the point is, he can run it, and he can just throw the hell out of it because I'm not sure anybody has a bigger arm than he does. And he certainly has.
Yeah, he certainly got a hose.
Yeah, he's got a hose. And it's obviously a bigger arm than Dak does. Dak in his first couple of years could move around pretty well. He doesn't move around, doesn't try to move around that much anymore. So I'm looking at 10 playoff games for Josh Allen. He's 21 touchdowns to 4 interceptions with only 2 lost fumbles in 10 games. Well, that's outstanding, man. That's like big time numbers. It's just the problem is he ran into the 2 best quarterbacks in pro football 3 times Mahomes, and once Joe Burrow went up to Buffalo and just threw a party up there because that's what Joe does a lot of times on the road. So it's hard to argue. You can argue again. It's obviously or weirdly, ironically, the flip of Dak because Dak is sensational in the regular season and not so great when it really matters. And with Josh, he can be awful in the regular season and turn it over like crazy. And then come postseason, he's really good. He's just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, because if he played 10 playoff games and not run into Mahomes 3 times, he might have 8 wins.
Well, you can say that about anybody, though, right?
But I mean, you're running into the best.
And when you say for Dak and the Cowboys, if they did not run into the San Francisco 49ers multiple times, maybe they would advance somewhere, but San Francisco's a better football team all the way around than the Dallas Cowboys. So you can say it both ways. The reason I look at Dak Prescott, to me, as for my taste buds, is that he's always playing with less help than other people. And what I mean by that, CeeDee Lamb just emerged last year because they decided to move him around and do different things. He was always a solid player. But he took his game up to the next level.
He did.
Because Mike McCarthy and company decided we can't win by keeping him over there as a cardboard cutout. We got to move him around a little bit. Then early in Dak's career, the running game was all Zeke. And then it started to fade. They thought Tony Pollard would be able to be the guy. He played okay, coming off an injury, nothing special like Zeke did early. That's why they let him walk out the building. Tight end wise, Ferguson got better, but in the end, there was no Jason Witten to be found. So it's kind of like he's always been playing, needing some help. Where in Josh Allen's situation, they had a lights-out defense that was balling. Stephon Diggs was balling. Gabe Davis was balling. Like, he just had more. And in all honesty, he probably had a better coach than Jason Garrett in terms of Sean McDermott. I think you would say you'd rather have Sean McDermott than Jason Garrett. So you start to look at a little bit of that. And then Josh Allen, every season, at the start of the season, he's the poster child for the MVP. He's the guy.
Man,
he can't even get a vote. He can't get a vote. So I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, but I understand where you coming from, Skip. If you put Josh Allen on the Cowboys, what would they be? If you put Dak Prescott on Buffalo, what would that be? You probably feel better with him on the Cowboys than Dak Prescott because of the postseason success that he's had. It will happen for Dak at some point in time, and if it doesn't, then you got me.
Okay.
Then you got me.
You always say I'm a prisoner of when Dallas plays against Buffalo. And Josh has played Dak twice and outplayed him twice head-to-head in regular season games, last year at Buffalo, once on Thanksgiving at Jerry World. But the point is, I think he's actually, he gets underrated because he gets overhyped. He gets overhyped before the year starts, and then he doesn't live up in the regular season. He's a turnover machine. Get rid of him. Get him out of here. And then in the postseason, man, even against Mahomes this last year up at Buffalo, I thought he played really well in that game, and they just couldn't get home because Mahomes finally got untracked with Kelsey, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. So the other thing, you both being ex-star players, this is voted on by the players.
Yeah, that's why I say I can't argue.
I understand.
The players like it.
Okay, but this is what just drives me out of my mind. It's still a quarterback's world. It's a quarterback's game, and I'm looking at Joe Burrow just because he didn't play the whole year, I guess. He's ranked 39th on the list. Well, help me out. Like, okay, so we have that second 10. It's topped off by Fred Warner, who's a really good player for the San Francisco 49ers.
But you ain't taking Fred Warner over Joe Burrow.
No.
Is that what you're telling me?
Over Joe Burrow? What general manager?
So here's what I said about Dak Prescott, Skip. The players that vote in this is players. They don't. And it's like the defensive linemen, I think it's the defensive linemen and linebackers or whatever, they're the ones who vote for, like, the quarterbacks. It's not like the receivers are voting for the quarterback. It's like defensive guys voting for offensive guys voting for defensive guys. They don't fear Joe Burrow. I know it sounds crazy to you. You can't buy that concept.
I cannot.
And maybe some of that is because he missed a portion of last season. He didn't miss all of last season. I think he might have missed 5 or 6 games, a portion of last season. They don't fear him. I know it sounds crazy.
That do sound crazy.
It sounds crazy, but this is coming from the players. And this is what I said about Dak Prescott. If the players start to look at you a certain way, it's not that they don't fear you like that. They fear Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
They scared to death of those guys.
I understand.
But they're not afraid of Joe Burrow. We like Joe.
Okay.
But they see him every day. We don't.
I would love to hear what Fred Warner said about a game that Joe Burrow played at San Francisco when he was still healthy in November, because it was the best quarterback game I saw the whole regular season. Nobody played better than Joe Burrow played at San Francisco. He picked Fred Warner's defense to pieces in ways Mahomes did not in the Super Bowl.
I understand.
All right. And you say you don't fear that? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't look sensational. Maybe it feels dink and dunkish or whatever. But he's just surgically shredding you. That's what he's doing. He's picking you to pieces.
Joe Burrow has had spurts and moments in his career that go, oh, okay. But he's also had moments you be like, oh my God. It's true. It's on film. You look at it, there's been games like, damn, he really good. Then there's been games like, yeah, I don't know about that. And that's what the players are seeing. That's what they're seeing, Skip.
What's he done against Pat Mahomes?
He beat him twice, maybe 3 times.
I think 3 out of 4.
Yeah, something like that.
3 out of 4.
3 out of 4.
Yeah.
I understand. I get that. But did he beat him or did the team beat him? There's a difference when you say he beat him.
Okay.
When you say Aaron Rodgers was at the height of he was the one beating you because he was throwing the ball. It wasn't nothing.
Okay.
I mean, like he was piercing that thing through a keyhole.
Yeah. And yet the players ranked him 92 on this list. I mean, he's just better. You already said you still fear him, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay. Well,
because he might turn on the switch at anything.
Okay, he might.
That's just like Tom Brady.
Okay.
Tom Brady was a dinosaur, but you feared it because he might just get under there on a 90-yard drive with 1:10 to go with no timeouts, down by 6. Yeah. And next thing you know, you go to the bathroom and come back, you say, what the hell just happened?
What just happened?
That's how Aaron Rodgers can be any minute.
I agree. Trevor Lawrence got his big contract. He's not great, but he's not bad, and he's ranked 94th on this list. That's just silly to me.
No,
he's way better.
Skip, you put more value into the quarterback position because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to put value in the quarterback position because they're the highest paid. They're the ones who hold the ball the most. They get the ball. So we automatically assume that Trevor Lawrence is okay. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but I'm just saying he's a quarterback who's had some success. And if I put him on the open market, if we could have an open draft of these top 100 players, I promise you he would go way before 94 because there are a whole bunch of defensive players. And
it depends on what you need. If you need a quarterback, of course you're going to take him. But if I got a serviceable guy and I need multiple positions and I have a serviceable guy in one of those multiple positions on our top 100 list before him, I'm probably going to take that position if I got a serviceable quarterback.
Okay. All right. Roquan Smith. I love him. He's really good at what he does. Is he more valuable than quarterbacks? Again, he's the 19th ranked player on this list. So he's ahead of C.J. Stroud. Right now, would I take Roquan over C.J. Stroud? It's laughable to me. No, I would not.
But you also got to take into consideration C.J. Stroud gave you 17 games.
Yeah, I understand.
You're
going to bet against him? You think it was a blip instead of a trend?
No, not at all. I got him challenging Houston in the AFC. I mean, challenging Kansas City in the AFC.
You do. You saw enough.
I saw enough to know that he's there to stay.
Yeah. George Kittle at 14. Is he really? He's really good at what he does. But how much can you do? How much impact can you have?
So what you're saying is like, no other positional players should have more value than a quarterback.
That's the way Skip is looking at it. I don't look at it.
So out of the top 100, the first 10 probably should be quarterbacks.
Well, seriously.
I don't look at it that way.
GMs would take the quarterback. If you're going to start your team or if you need to flip the switch on your team and you can take one player, you're not going to take Fred Warner. You're just not. You're going to take one of the quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
Again, Skip, what quarterback are we talking about, though? Let me see if I can explain it a different way to you. If I'm a team like the San Francisco 49ers, and I have Brock Purdy, and then all of a sudden there's Trevor Lawrence out there, Why would I take Trevor Lawrence?
Okay, all right, that's fine, but we got to do it in a vacuum like you don't have a quarterback. If you had a choice, if the 49ers today had to choose between Fred Warner and Trevor Lawrence.
And didn't have a quarterback?
And they didn't have a, what do you think they'd do?
They probably going to take Trevor Lawrence.
They have to.
They probably going to take Trevor
because
Lawrence.
he's 6 feet 6 inches
He
tall.
has long hair and he's great.
Okay, and he could move around a little bit.
Yeah. As one of my ex-ESPN employees tried to tell, colleagues tried to tell me is he's a family guy, so you should draft him. I was like, what does that mean? It was the most bizarre.
All right.
Oh, God.
Okay, to sum this up, Fred Warner, and this is no disrespect to him because he has destroyed my Dallas Cowboys several times. He is really, really good at what he does at his position. He is the heartbeat of that defense, and they're really good. But he's ranked 11th ahead of Josh Allen at 12th. If you put them up for grabs right now, no GM would take Fred Warner over Josh Allen. They just wouldn't. I'm sorry. And I don't know how the voting actually plays out, but how the numbers are.
But I take Fred Warner over
the
Josh
quarterbacks
Allen.
have more impact on winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, it depends on what you're asking that quarterback to do.
Just like everybody, if you were going across the line and you just have no one on your team, the first pick is probably always going to be a quarterback.
Yeah, Keyshaw.
It feels that way.
You know what I'm saying?
It feels that way, but the reason this is because they got data on these dudes. It ain't. We're not talking about a draft.
Yeah.
We're not talking about do you take Peyton Manning or Keyshaw Johnson as the #1 overall pick. We're not. That's not what we're discussing. These guys have film on them.
Keyshawn, I'm going to go biggest picture. A guy you and I know very well, Derek Brooks, and was all-time great at his position. He was so great that if you told me it's Derek Brooks versus Josh Allen, I might have to think hard about Derek Brooks just because he is going to be the leader of potentially a defense that you can surround him with players, and they might be the best.
I don't need Josh Allen when I got Derek Brooks in there.
Well, you didn't have.
I don't need Josh Allen.
You had a decent quarterback, Brad Johnson. He was pretty good.
Brad did what he was supposed to do. He won a damn Super Bowl.
Okay, but was he great? No, he wasn't great. But you had, very arguably, the harder I look at your defense that year, it just might be the greatest ever. I got the '85 Bears, and I got Ray Lewis.